Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football, and welcome back to the Winning Drive. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Pleased to be joined by fellow lifetime Longhorn, the young prodigy C.J. Vogel, and our own coach, former high school football coach at Bernie, Capel, Brownwood, Belton, Rotan. Also played college football at Abilene Christian, coached there as well, and was on the staff at the University of Texas for multiple head football coaches. And now you can catch his work at ShipleyRanches.com. He's also an amateur songwriter on the side, very talented one. Our own coach, Bob Shipley. What's going on, Coach?
Hey, I don't know why. I mean, CJ, he is the young prodigy. He is amazing, a rising star in this business.
That's right.
But why does he just get young prodigy and I get all that other crap?
Coach, you've been around the block a little longer than I have. A little bit more skin on your wall.
Exactly. Yes, thank you, CJ. That's exactly right. CJ, what are you, 25 or 20? How old are you, CJ?
He's a man. That's the man right there.
He's 27.
CB's the man too.
CJ is the man. I agree with that. You are the man too, Coach. You're right. CJ, I probably should add on some more stuff to CJ.
You need to add on something.
All right, I'll add on some stuff to CJ.
Hat throwing aficionado.
Yeah, Coach. Yes.
Write him an intro. Oh, I got that. Me and Chat got it, baby.
No, it's true. You know what? Maybe Coach can write it up. No, I'll add some stuff to CJ's. I'll get it done. All right, I'll get that done. Because you're right, he is deserving, no doubt. We're lucky to have CJ. Lucky to have you guys joining us as well here on the Winning Drive. So we appreciate all of you guys taking the time here on a Monday. We will have, I believe, at one point, probably early on, lifetime Longhorn, my former teammate Stevie Lee is going to join us. He always joins us on Monday, courtesy of our good friends at Hardgrove Roofing. And I know after all those storms that hit Central Texas here in Austin last week, a lot of you may need someone to come look at your roof. So check out our friends at Hardgrove Roofing. Marco says, I wish I could have hired Rod to introduce
me too. Me too.
A quick story by the way. I did have not at the actual wedding, but at the wedding party, like the wedding reception afterwards. I did get Craig Way to introduce me and my wife. So boom, I did get the voice of Longhorns to do it. So yeah, we got that. That was official. I wanted Craig Way to do it to make sure he put his own little gravitas on it. But no, I appreciate that. You know what? I'm going to add some more stuff to CJ's. I'll sit down and do that. Coach added the songwriter thing just a couple of weeks ago when he revealed that he was a songwriter and sent us some cool songs that he had written. So I didn't even know that about Coach. I know a lot of stuff about CJ. I'll throw it into the intro. All right, we'll get that done. All right. We're also going to get into some rankings. Pro Football Focus actually has a mock draft I want to get into. Actually, they have out, but they've been ranking positions, like individual players returning at certain positions and position groups. They've been doing that as well. And I want to talk about a little bit of the Longhorns who are getting some love in their position rankings and position room rankings they're talking about. So we'll get into that coming up a little bit later on. There's a question I think Bud Elliott threw it out there, and the answer to his question, of course, relates to the Longhorns, but I want to pose that same question to our panel here on the Winning Drive, and then we'll throw it out there and have a discussion about it. Also, your questions, comments, whatever you guys want to talk about, throw it out there. We'll try to address as many of them as we can. Super chats jump to the front of the line, and you can interrupt the show at any time. I believe we are 89 days away from kickoff. We got an official there. Yeah, 89 days away. I don't even know who's number 89 on the. Is there 89 on the roster?
CB's the one that can answer that.
CB does do the research.
I think it's Will Randall.
Okay, is he 89? Okay. No, I don't know. I actually do not know. I just threw it out there. I have no idea. But it is 89 days, I believe. I've seen that. So, we'll get into that discussion too. Like I said, CB will probably throw it out there. Who the greatest?
Right. CB's right. Will Randall's number 87. So missed it by 2 days.
See? So there's
go against CB.
Is there 89 on the roster right now?
Ty Boatwright.
Yep. Ty Boatwright. Sorry, Boatwright. My bad. Sorry, my bad, Ty.
He's a junior wide receiver for those unfamiliar. He's out of Kingwood High right outside of Houston.
My bad, Ty. I apologize. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful at all. I just didn't know. All right, there you go. Do we know who the best 89 is of all time? Is there I don't know who it is.
CB's the only one that knows that.
Anderson was 89 when I played. He was pretty good. I got CB's tweet here. Charlie Talbert, Steve Bradley, Jermaine Anderson, Barrett Matthews, remember Dorian Leonard, Braden Liebrock. Shout out to Braden Liebrock back there. He got Ty Boatwright on there. See, CB doesn't. He had Ty Boatwright on there, so I should just looked at CB's tweet. That would have been fine. All right. Let me get to a question here before we bring on my man Steven. And we can ask Stevie this question as well. Because I thought, before we do that, before we do football stuff, congratulations to Texas softball. Shout out.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah, my bad. I apologize before we get to it. Yeah. The ladies taking care of business, headed to the championship series. And we don't know yet who they'll face. It's either Tech or OU. Who is Tech or OU, right? Yes. It's Tech or OU. Do we know that yet, CJ? Who is it?
They'll play tonight. So Texas Tech has 2 games to win one. Oklahoma has to win both games to advance. And we all know what's at stake here, right? This is the 3rd time in 4 years Texas softball will be playing for a national championship. Again, Oklahoma kind of running the sport, if you will, right now with Patty Gasso. But we've seen Texas Tech, they made a big splash last year in the offseason when they added Nigeria Kennedy out of the transfer portal from Stanford. I think it was reported that NIL deal was pretty hefty at the time, but she's been unbelievable so far. And now Texas Tech in the Final Four for the Women's College World Series. That investment certainly paying off. And well, Texas is familiar with her game from facing her last year at Stanford. Right now, I'm not picking against Texas at all, but Oklahoma's tough. Texas Tech with Kennedy and the way she's pitching right now, super tough as well. But back in the ship, and congrats to Mike White and the girls.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. It is. It's fantastic. We don't give enough love to Mike White. I'll say that too. We have these discussions about the best coaches on the 40 acres. I think Mike White must have heard it. A little upset about it. CB says, CJ, why was Patty Gasso taking shots at Texas?
Yeah, she said something weird about the mutual respect between Oklahoma and Oregon in the 2 games that they played. I don't know if it was a shot directly at Texas. Some kind of construed it to be that way because it wasn't mentioned in the win Texas had over Oklahoma, but I don't know. And look, she's the best coach in softball at the moment. When you look at what I think it's 4 straight national championships, they've been unbelievable. They had that incredible win over Tennessee in the first round, that a 3-run walk-off home run to win 4-3. Like, that team knows how to win. So I'm sure there isn't bulletin board material that she'd like to give to the Longhorns right now, but until they're knocked off, they're the top dog in the sport.
All right. So congrats to the ladies, and now they wait to see who they'll end up playing in that championship series. Old school Big 12. Old school Big 12 feel to this, right? Oklahoma Tech, Longhorns. Not bad. Yeah.
There's a little back and forth from, I believe, what is it, like week 9, week 10 in 2008 when it was Texas Tech, Oklahoma, Texas, all ranked 1, 2, 3 in the college football world, saying, there's only 3 teams left. Look at who it is. Speaking of Oklahoma on the diamond, they're currently trailing 8-2 to North Carolina in an elimination game. So SEC in postseason play right now, very underwhelming.
Oh, yeah. And of course, we talked a little bit about Texas, but before we wrap up that discussion, get to some football, get Stevie Lee on here. What were your thoughts, both of you gentlemen? Any thoughts about the Texas baseball season officially done now? Disappointing, of course, coming up short to UTSA multiple times. They're down the wire there. And, of course, Schloss's first season. How do you define it? Now with a little bit of perspective, hopefully Longhorn fans can be a little bit gracious, considering I know the championship standard there is. What are you guys' thoughts? Texas baseball, first season for Schloss.
Yeah, I think just ran out of gas, I think is the best way to put it, right? This was a team that dealt with a lot of injuries, right? And a lot of nagging things that kept Texas from being 100%, right? Rylan Galvan was grimacing last night. Jonah Williams obviously didn't play in left field at some point in the regional because, well, he just couldn't move well. You saw him rounding the bases, not at 100%. Ethan Mendoza wasn't able to finish the season at second base because of injuries. We know about Adrian Rodriguez. Max Blue missed a lot of time. You can go on and on. Every team at this point of the year, not 100% healthy, but it was the lack of competitive at-bats with guys in scoring position that really ultimately did this team in for me. You talk about the guys left on base Saturday night. You talk about the opportunities to string together some momentum last night, and Texas just left guys out on the pond, and you can't do that. Timely hitting, good pitching is what wins in the postseason. Texas had neither of those. They just kind of ran out of arms. Again, the loss of Jared Spencer, I'd go on and on and on about that, how that significance, but it just felt like after the Kansas State game, and how hot it was yesterday, maybe fatigue got to the team. I don't know. Again, I don't want to make excuses, but they were just completely dead after UTSA got out to an early lead, and it didn't feel like there was the fight that you would like to have seen. Too many bats left on shoulders, too many strikeouts, but you add a number to the wall out at the dish, you get, SEC regular season championship. That's not for nothing. Mm-hmm. So year one, you see the promise of what this program could be under Schloss.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And when you squander a lead like we did in the first game to UTSA, that's just probably injuries like you were talking about. But that was a hard game to watch, Squandered a good lead against UTSA, and UTSA took 3 games from Texas this year. That's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, no, that's an impressive program, man. And I know there's a lot of talk now about comparing the resources that UTSA's baseball program has compared to Texas these days. You just got to give UTSA some props. The coach came in confident too. So they came in to win, came in this thing thinking they could win this regional. A lot of people thought that was just coach speak. Now they believed it because they knew they could beat Texas. They had beaten Texas. So right now, Texas, the postseason is all about playing your best baseball at the right time. And I think they had passed the point where they had played their best baseball. Those last 10, 12 games of the season.
The last month. Yeah, the last 15 games or so, Texas was, I believe, 6-9. The strikeout numbers were astronomical. Pitching wasn't great. You look at the Arkansas series, you look at obviously what they had remaining for this regional, it just ran out too quickly in terms of depth, in terms of health, in terms of having the juice to advance, and ran into a really tough, kind of gritty team in UTSA.
Yep. All right. Let's get to Stevie Lee before we and we'll dive into some football conversation here as well. But thank you to our friends at Hartgrove Roofing. We appreciate them, and you will as well, considering the storms we had here in Austin last week. You may be looking for someone who can check out your roof, provide a roof inspection, roof repairs, or an entirely new roof if you need it. Our friends at Hartgrove Roofing can do just that. 512-645-3202. Know who's on your roof with HartgroveRoofing.com. I really appreciate them, their ongoing support of On Texas football, and bringing on my man Stevie Lee. Courtesy of Hartgrove Roofing. Did you avoid the storms? Did you get, my man CJ lost power for about, a couple of days, a day and a half, something like that. Did you?
Yeah, no, I didn't lose any power. I got heavy rain, which made my grass look good, so I'm happy about that. I'm an old dude now, man. I love a good lush green lawn, so my grass is looking really good right now. When I walk outside, I start smiling.
Apparently, you aren't mowing that yard. Is that true?
Apparently, what now?
No, you're not mowing that yard.
Oh no, I haven't mowed my yard since I moved in this house.
Okay.
Man. I mow my yard. I still mow the yard.
You do?
I mow the yard. Dude, I tried to get somebody to mow my yard. I literally tried to pay people. I reached out to like 3 different companies. I couldn't get anybody to come do it. And so I just went and bought the damn stuff myself. And I was like, my dad would be ashamed of me anyway for trying to pay somebody to do my damn yard. So,
man, my dad makes fun of me every time. Every time my dad comes visit, he makes fun of me. Hey, man, your yard guy ain't came yet.
Hey, you got it made if you got a yard guy. That's all this old poor coach has to say.
Hey, I tried to be that guy, coach. It didn't work out for me. I will say, now that I have a wife and I have a kid, you enjoy that. Now I get Pops in that lawn time. All right, I'm gonna go do this yard. I'm gonna go do this yard. It may take me 3 hours to get it all done. Now I do get why Pops is outside a lot. I get it. I got stuff to do around this house.
Honestly, I enjoy doing it because when I go back home for Thanksgiving, my dad makes me cut his yard. So I enjoy doing it, but only for that one time a year I do it. And then I'm like, I'll continue paying my guy $40 every 2 weeks.
Your pops is a G. Your pops make you cut the yard.
Man.
I appreciate that. That's legit right there. All right, let me ask you. I don't know. Did you?
First talking about baseball, I heard you guys talking about it.
Boom, go ahead.
Yeah,
I want to ask you.
I totally agree with y'all. We ran out of pitching, the injuries, we peaked too early. You know, all those things are true. See, I'm not all the way wrong. So, but what I think what we also got to do is extend a little bit of grace because it's first year of this coaching staff, man, and figuring out the program, figuring out the ins and outs. I think they also did a really good job of, you know, putting the team together. It was just a series of unfortunate events is what I'm seeing right now. So it sucks to lose to UTSA. I ain't gonna lie. That one right there hurt. I was on the couch. I was like, babe, they just hit another one in. Like, damn it, man. You know? So that one sucked. But, you know, I'm really happy about this this program. Coach is on an upward trajectory. I saw him speak at one of the Texas One Fund events, and he captivates the crowd kind of like Coach Brown did. You know, everyone, whenever he spoke, he got everyone attention. Took questions from the audience, and I think that he's a phenomenal fit for the University of Texas in there as a baseball coach. So I'm high on him right now.
I agree. I had a conversation with him recently for Third and Longhorn, and he's special.
Yeah,
he's a great motivator. Obviously knows ball, but his ability to motivate and the principles and values that he has kind of carried with him throughout his years as a coach, those are special. And he's consistent. He talks about consistency and making sure, sounds like Sark in a lot of ways. You know, how you are some of the time is how you are all the time, right? That kind of thing, like making sure that you're consistent in your behavior, make you consistent in your, you know, how you work and your approach and method, not only to football, but in classroom, all those kind of things. So I agree with you. There's no doubt. I mean, he's a home run hire. It's crazy that the standard is so high in Texas. We have to ask the question, you know, how do you define a season where they won the SEC in the regular season, but came up short in the postseason? But that's just how high the standard is.
Yeah.
Okay, Rod.
Yeah.
Does that UTSA coach have a connection to UT?
I don't think he
was.
He
an assistant at some point?
That's a great. I don't know. I'm not gonna say. You know what? I do not know. CJ might know better than me. I do not know if he has a connection or not.
I don't think so, but I could be wrong.
It doesn't matter if it's basketball, track, baseball, football. When it comes down to the playoffs, you got to be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be healthy, and that will dictate the success of your playoff run, in my opinion.
Can I ask the three of y'all this, having, you know, played at a high level, having coached at a high level, you've been on successful teams, you've been on teams that have disappointed in terms of relative talent. When the conversation about peaking too early, how do you prevent that? Is it preventable? Because look, if you're playing well in the middle of the season, it's not like the coach is going to come out and say, hey, you got to save these wins, right? You want to win every game, but how do you make sure, whether it be from a coaching side or from the locker room, to say, we got to make sure that we got something left in the tank? Is it all just kind of luck in this instance here, or what do y'all think?
That's good. Coach. I want to know from Coach.
Yeah.
Because Coach, you had to go to playoffs, Coach. I mean, how do you do that?
Well, let me tell you. Every time I ever played a game, I was swinging for the fence. I tried to score on every play.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's no holding back. Okay, this guy's doing good, but I'm going to hold him back for another series. Bullcrap.
Yeah.
You try to win every game and you beat them as bad as you can. That's my philosophy. But hey, I'm sitting in Abilene, Texas, selling ranch real estate. So what do I know? But I think it's just a matter of luck with injuries. with how your team is responding to adversity, it's a tough course to navigate for these coaches, in my opinion.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say, Coach, is try to manage injuries, but you manage the players. I remember, Rod, we would pull back on some workouts as it gets longer in the season. We wouldn't do as hard or heavy workouts as we did during the season in the beginning of the season. So getting people's body right, staying in the training room, because in the middle of the season it's a grind, and you don't want your players to get burned out playing a game and then going out there and practicing too hard. I remember towards the end of the season, we stopped doing full pad practices, and we were just doing shell practices towards the end. So you got to manage your players so you can peak at the end. That's part of it.
Yep, that is. And I think another thing is, and Mac was big on this too, and Coach probably can, break this down better than I can, just from a coach's perspective. That there are some games. Well, they're just games that are just more mentally, physically, spiritually taxing than other games, right? That Texas OU game, Mac knew this game basically kind of defines our season, and he would almost break up the schedule based on that, because he always said, and I was talking to Mac about this, he said no matter what happened in that game, whether we beat OU, which means we were basically become a national championship, team at that point, or a team that's could in the conversation to be a national championship contender, and if we lost that game, and it felt a lot of times like your season was over. Because you had to readjust your goals after that, right? And it was such a disappointing loss because, you put so much investment in it emotionally, spiritually, and everything, right? Everybody knows Oklahoma just means more, not to steal the SEC's saying. But I do think for Texas baseball, that A&M matchup, it felt like that for them this season, where there was so much wrapped in it. And you almost have to, as a coach, you got to watch the way that you prepare your team, even if you win, like they did. They beat the hell out of A&M. But I think mentally for them, it was almost, they exhaled. They relaxed a little. It almost felt like they put too much in it.
Yeah.
When they won the SEC, but it felt like all of that gratification, it had a detrimental effect in the postseason for them.
Yeah,
like they relaxed a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like as a coach, you have to approach your team from the standpoint: was this our goal? Yeah. Was our goal just to beat A&M? No, our goal was to dominate everybody. So don't let that win get into your system and think, okay, we're right where we need to be. No, every single game, you got to put these people away. Yeah. And as a high school coach, I made a lot of mistakes. One of the mistakes I made 2 years in a row, we played for state championships. I didn't change anything. I mean, we lifted 3 times a week. We ran sprints 3 times a week. We didn't pull off. I felt like if we pulled off, the guys would think that, we were kind of slacking a little bit. I wanted them to stay in their routine, the same thing they'd done for 15 or 16 weeks. And I don't know that that's a wisest thing to do, but that's the way I handle it. And I don't know that it was the best way to handle it. There's such a psychological game with these athletes, that, especially in high school. In high school, you go out in shorts and shoulder pads and the kids start playing grab tail and stuff, and they think it's a break, and it's hard for 16, 17, 18-year-old kids to be, dialed in. Much easier for college kids at that age to realize, okay, this is why we're doing that. We're doing this to save our bodies, to save our efforts for the game. Yeah. But I never did that. We played for 2 state championships in a row. We ran sprints 3 days a week. We lifted 3 days a week. We didn't change anything. Yeah. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but I just felt like these guys have been doing it since August. We're not going to change it.
It worked.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah, you know what your players were saying. They were like, "Damn, coach tripping."
Hey, it got us through 15 games.
I was gonna say it worked. It worked though. To me, it worked, Coach. I think your strategy worked. I think but like I said, it is. I think there's a site that's as Coach mentioned. I don't know if we quantify the psychological element of those big games like that and big series in baseball. I was talking about, and sometimes I just think ultimately you may have too much invested in. I think Coach Brown understood that we were all going to be too focused on the Oklahoma game, and it was the middle of the season, so you had to recover either way. You beat them, you're on a high. You can't go into the next game on that high. You'll get that fall from grace will be quick. It's slap in the face. It'll be quick, fast, and hurry. And if you go in there, if you go too low coming out of the game after a loss, well, you're still gonna get beat because you're down on yourself at 2 weeks. So it was all about not letting your opponent beat you twice or not letting that win end up beating you. So I think Mac was really good at that. And I think for Texas baseball, maybe that's something they dealt with a little bit of that.
Yeah, I think so too. And looking ahead to football is kind of pivoting this over to football. When you look at the 25 schedule for Texas, that OU game is going to have one with heightened emotions. And when it comes to OU and A&M now, you always kind of look at what's before and what's after in terms of trap games, in terms of games where maybe you don't get that emotional high. Fortunately for Texas, and I say this because I think no matter who you play before or who you play after Oklahoma, the Oklahoma game is going to have that hype, right? You go on the road to Florida, and that's right off of a bye week. You're preparing for what's going to be a much improved Florida team in 2025. And then you get Oklahoma on the back end. Yeah, you might be a little tired, but that Rod, Stevie, Coach, you walk into that stadium in Dallas, it doesn't matter how tired you were the week leading up. Your energy is going to be there. On the flip side, you look at the final 3 games, leading up. That Arkansas game might scare me a little bit, right? Georgia's going to be a heightened emotional game. A&M, Thanksgiving weekend, moving back to that Friday. You're going to have the emotions there. What you can't do is lose sight of a team that hates your guts, and that's Arkansas. So always try to look at where might you not slip up, but maybe overlook an opponent. And that Arkansas game right now, I know they're not going to have the talent on the field as Texas, but that's one to keep an eye on because it's sandwiched between 2 games in which everyone's going to be talking about what happened in Georgia and what's to come with Texas A&M. Other than that, look, you might as well take a nap between Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt, and you can end up in the same spot. Point being, those Oklahoma games are going to have some fun implications coming off of a trip to the Swamp.
Yeah, those last 3 games on the schedule right there are tough. Yeah, it's going to be tough. We're away at Georgia, and then Arkansas is going to be Arkansas. That's the only game I lost at DKR Stadium was against Arkansas and Houston Nutt.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the only game I lost, Rod. And so I hate them with a passion. And then the A&M game is going to be an A&M game. So, but it's going to be fun because it's back in our stadium. But you still got to come out fired up on that game.
A little senior day action too.
Who's the quarterback of that Arkansas?
He was on that booger sugar back then.
No, he was
Matt Jones.
He was a beast, though. That was a freak athlete, man. He was doing so. He wasn't even working out hard. He was still a freak. He went to the combine and showed out too. Did he get drafted in the first round for wide receiver or something?
Yeah, and that's all allegedly booger sugar, man. I don't want to put that out.
No. I think he got arrested for it actually a couple times.
Okay, good.
You're right.
Good.
Yeah, we passed the alleged thing. I think he
allegedly. But that was my only game we lost against in the as a defensive line, defensive tackles in our our playbook and scouting report. They didn't put down in the scouting report. This is on the coaches. This is on Bull Reese. They didn't put in the scouting report that he could run like he could run. That was surprising. He hit that edge and he was gone on us. And we're like, y'all like that?
Let me go back and look at that scouting report. Like,
right?
Y'all should have that in bold print. He can run, and all capitals.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
It's like that Taysom Hill. They didn't do that with Taysom Hill too. That scouting report was off on Taysom Hill.
Yeah,
I was on that sideline and he was running up like the white Vince Young. up and down the sideline. And he had a knee brace on. He was running away from our secondary like that. That's crazy. All right, Stevie. I won't keep you too long. We went off the rails as we do all the time when you come on. But thank you for the time. We appreciate you. And have a great rest of the week, brother.
All good, man. Y'all wish me luck. I'm heading up to Kansas City, Missouri to do orientation with my daughter tomorrow, man.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. It's I'm dropping my baby off in some strange city, so I'm gonna go and take a look around there, you know. So
all right, what school, Steve?
Avila University in Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay.
All right, good luck.
Catholic school. Hey, they gave her money, so she's going.
Hey, congratulations, brother.
Congrats, Steve.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
We'll talk to y'all soon. Hook 'em.
All right. Take care, brother. Hook 'em. Oh, man. Love Stevie Lee. Lifetime Longhorn, my former teammate, and a great human being, too. All right. Let's get to a couple of questions here. Actually, Marco, I should have asked this while Stevie was here. He said, Rod and Stevie, would you all have a full team Thanksgiving dinner the day before the A&M game, or would you all wait until after the game? Well, we would do like a little Thanksgiving team dinner, Mac would. And it would be like it'd be like the day before. He would do like a little team dinner, but it was nothing really extravagant. It just had all the fixings, turkey and mashed potato, that kind of stuff. And then after the game, I mean, we go hang out with our families, but that'd be Thanksgiving dinner wasn't necessarily the top priority. So yeah, it was when I went to the league, I played for the Lions for a couple of years, and they also have a Thanksgiving tradition to play on Thanksgiving. So I really didn't get to enjoy my Thanksgiving until I was kind of done playing ball. But now Mac was good about that kind of stuff, man, that he knew that whether it was bowl games or whether it was the A&M game, like those were two of your major family holidays. And he did not, take it lightly that he was taking time away from your family. Like it meant a lot to him that, so he was big, and Mac was big about, hey, we are, your second family, and we'll celebrate all the holidays together accordingly, whether it was us on a bowl game, whether it be having to travel on Christmas or Christmas Eve, that kind of stuff, or whether it was us having to, be together as a team on Thanksgiving. And I'm grateful to Mac because of that. Mac was really good. And all the coaches, they brought their families around. So Mac was real good about that. I think Sark is equally invested in their these kind of social points for them in their life, whatever it may be, because Jerry's talked about it, how these early enrollees are going back for, graduation and prom and all of these marquee events in their life, that he doesn't want them to miss it just because they're prodigies in football. Yes, that's going to be great, but one point in your life, you want to look back and joke about going to the prom and being an actual teenager and enjoying that experience, because we all know you never get it back. That's why anybody who has kids, they want their kids to enjoy being a kid because you don't get it back. Oh, this is a great segue. Damn it, I just thought of it. Okay, how about this? Eli Manning was talking to, I believe it was CBS Sports. And Matthew, could you pull this up? Please, if you will, best in the business. He was talking to CBS Sports. They were asking about, I think they were asking about the Giants and Jackson Dart too. We had some quotes about Jackson Dart. Of course, they asked him about Arch. Anytime they get a Manning, they're going to ask him about Arch. And the quote that he had about Arch, I'll just give it to you. He said, I think Arch has done a great job on just how he's handled these first 2 years of his college career, taking advantage when he got the opportunity to play some, but learning, being patient, waiting, and now it's a great opportunity to take over the team. He's earned the respect of his teammates, coaches, and through his hard work, his dedication, and excited to watch him this year. So it's not going to be an easy task. You open up your college career at Ohio State, defending champs on the road, but it will be exciting and just happy for him because I know how hard he's worked. He also goes on to say, when they asked him about his skill set, he said, hey, he's much faster. He's played in 2 real games, 2 starts under his belt. I had a lot of starts over the years, but I think he's got a lot of potential and hopefully breaks all well. I don't have any records anymore, but he's going to have a great college career, and just looking forward to him enjoying that experience, because I remember my time, and it's not much better than being in college, playing football with your best buds, learning each and every week something new about the game and the process, And so you see that hunger with him. He wants to get better. He wants to learn. He wants to ask. He asked me great questions. So excited to be there as part of his journey. All right. I said, nope, I read a long quote there. But the emphasis, once again, another Manning talking about enjoying the college experience. We're just talking about how, Sark and Mac were big on, hey, those kind of marquee events in your life or holidays, we celebrate them together. We don't want you to miss that just because, you're a football player. And he talks about how I want him to enjoy his time. Doesn't get much better than that, playing in college with your best buds. And he's right about that from the NFL experience, right? It's a different experience than living with your teammates, eating with your teammates, going to class with your teammates. We go out together and we play together and we practice together. We spend all day together. You don't do that when you go to the league. And you don't do that even in high school. You're closer in high school. You don't do it like that. You don't live with them. All right. You don't get to eat all your meals with them. You're never closer as a football team than you're in college. Those are just, and now the transfer portal, I don't know if you ever get as close as you used to be back in the day. My point, guys, is that the Mannings are big about you enjoying that time as a young, a young adult, enjoying that time as a teenager with your college friends. That's why the Mannings, I believe, stayed in college. Oh, the Peyton and Eli stayed in college 4 years. And, I don't know if Arch, I think Archie's going to stay 4 years too. It kind of seems like that's the way it's trending. And that's kind of what I got out of that quote. Sorry for the long way around.
No, that's good stuff. And I think there's also parts in that Eli just goes, hey, I'm here if he ever needs me. Call, phone call, text away, but I'm not going to get in the way of him going out, developing on his own, trusting Steve Sarkisian, et cetera. So that's really cool. And it's nothing that any other quarterback in the country has in their back pocket, be able to call 3 Hall of Famers and say, hey, what should I do? How do I approach this? What do I need to do better or improve upon? So really cool. It's something that I think we've been all waiting for, right? Is to see Arch on the field with it being his job at the quarterback position. So I think that's awesome. And that first line from Eli, just put it on a shirt. He's much faster. He's a Manning, but he's much faster than any of the Mannings that we've seen really since, in my life. But, I know Archie had some wheels back in the day. So I'm all for it. And, of course, today, day 1 of summer conditioning. So getting the full team for the first time this calendar year out onto the field for little workouts. Rod, I meant to ask you and Stevie this, but look, it's 94 degrees down here in Austin. I'm sure these guys weren't maybe too excited to get back out there for summer conditioning, but enough excitement where it's all right. The boys are back. Let's get going. Here we got some photos of Trevor Gooseby out here. Thank you, Matthew, for pulling that up. But
nice.
I can't imagine by 3 weeks from now they'll be chomping at the bit to get back out to go condition with Torrey Beckton and his crew.
Hey, if you plan for coach, you're gonna be doing them sprints until playoffs.
Right.
No, I love summer workouts. I think for me, I actually kind of enjoyed the summer workouts. It is really when that bond as a team really starts to form in summer workouts, because it's really kind of you against the strength and conditioning staff and coaches. You form this bond every morning. You get up, and I remember
dogs hate us, Rod.
Oh man, coach, I don't know how y'all did, but I remember, Matt, we wouldn't know the workouts. So we'd walk up there with a pit in our stomach every day, kind of like, man, what the hell has he got in mind today? All you would you see like a weight vest and go, oh no, I see Shep Dog with the weight vest. That ain't good. You see, you may get a hint, but you wouldn't know what you were doing from day to day. And it was, oh man, in that heat, it was brutal. So it did make you have the mindset of, kind of F it, like whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. All right. We know it's going to be hard. We expect it to be hard. It should be hard. It won't break me. It don't matter. And I believe that's the mindset they wanted us to have about it, and to look at every day as kind of a new challenge, right? Like this is a new challenge. And now it's different. Now they're much more advanced, I'm sure, than we were. But it's a lot of mental toughness. I remember, Coach, a lot of mental toughness. I mean, everybody's out there is a great athlete. But the mental toughness that it takes to get out there and grind it out every day, and then go compete and you would bear crawl. You got to bear crawl the length of the football field, but every 10 yards you do, I believe, 10 up downs, and you'd have to repeat I Love Texas, or you'd have to repeat the like some saying you're coming with, right? the pride and win tradition of Texas Longhorns would not be entrusted to the weak and timid. Sometimes it would be that. Sometimes it'd be related to the game that we had or whatever it may be. We didn't lose a lot, but when we did lose, you crawl before you walk. And he would do that. You do that for like probably an hour. Oh, no, in the heat. Yeah, we do that, and guys would be vomiting. Guys would be collapsing on the field, and you only did it when you lost. Yeah. And so you knew after you lost, you were going to watch film, and he was going right out there with dogs to crawl before you walk. And he was just going to do it until you got tired or until you passed out and collapsed. All right. Yeah. So that was fun. So was that Champ Bailey. Rod, did you ever have to step aside and practice and take a breather? I know as a competitor, you don't want to look weak and stop doing workouts, but did any practice make you tap out? No, never tapped out. It was some hard stuff. There were guys that tapped out. They had to. I mean, I get it. There were some big guys. I mean, I get it. Mad Dog was trying to break you. With some of those exercises. So I remember guys tapping out, especially coming back in some workouts, because we would do a test, like a fitness test, to see who was in shape before they even started you working out. And so some guys would be, obviously in terrible shape, and they couldn't even make it through the fitness test. And then Dog kind of knew, all right, we know who to watch. No centers, but I never tapped out. Hell no, would never do it. No, when like I said, I know there were guys that did, but I was in good shape. I was a track guy though. I ran the quarter.
That helps.
I ran the 800 in high school. My coach, to train me for the quarter, Coach Martinez, God bless him, Coach Martinez, Vietnam vet. He was crazy. And he really was, no joke. Hope he's not white. I love him, but he was crazy. He'd make us run the 8 to run the 4. So everything you ran, you would run double that. So I ran the quarter and the 200, but he'd make me go compete. And all throughout track meets, getting back to our conversation about peaking at the right time, and track is all about peaking at the right time, right? You'll be peaking toward the end of the season. You would run in regular track meets during the season. If I ran the 2, I'd run the 4 to train for the 2. And then as the season, obviously wore on, I would start competing in the 2. But I would be in shape to sprint and run a 4. Or run the 8. Oh man! So I wasn't getting up shape from that. I was in great shape. Never had to tap out or think about it.
That's the recipe.
Yeah. Okay, let's get back to. I know we got some questions here. Before we get to the questions, let's thank another sponsor before we move on. Let's thank our friends over at Von Lane. Our friends over at Von Lane. You got to travel between the major Texas cities. Travel to Austin or Houston, DFW or San Antonio. It can be a bit of a hassle. Matter of fact, it can just be downright stressful, especially dealing with the airport chaos and dealing with flight delays and the overpriced, ridiculously priced items in an airport. And if you even try to drive, we know that also can be a bit of a hassle. You got to deal with traffic and road rage and hours of lost productivity while you're driving on the road. Well, the third option is better in every way. It's our friends over at Von Lane. I've taken Von Lane to Houston to visit family. I've taken it to DFW on business, and I love it. My wife loves it as well. You arrive at a luxury hotel terminal, no TSA lines, no long-term parking lots, just a seamless boarding experience that takes minutes, not hours. You settle into a plush leather seat, a hot towel, pillow, and blanket are at arm's reach. Your attendant offers complimentary snacks, beverages, and on select trips, a full meal. And if you need to relax, you can lean back and enjoy the ride. If you want to stay productive, there's high-speed Wi-Fi and power at every seat. While you're unplugging or powering through, the Von Lane team, they're monitoring traffic in real time using smarter routes and efficient detours to keep your trip smooth and on schedule. And now is the perfect time to plan your fall travel. Booking is open through September, so whether you're headed to a college football game, a weekend getaway, or a business trip that needs to be done right, Von Lane makes the journey part of the reward. Von Lane serves Austin, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, San Antonio, and in the Southeast, Atlanta, Nashville, and Memphis as well. Visit vonlane.com. That's VONLANE.com. Use the code OTF25 to save $20 off your first ride. That's Von Lane, elevated regional bus transportation. We appreciate our friends over at Von Lane. All right, we got some questions here. I'm going to try to knock out as many of these as we can. How about this one from Syracuse Horn? Any chance Joan is able to work out in June? Seems like he's going to need at least a month to get healthy. I'll be pleasantly surprised if he can get healthy enough to contribute this year. Oh, okay. Thank you for that, Syracuse Horn. Yeah, what about Jonah Williams? I mean, I guess that is some good news. He can now just transition over to football. How long is that transition taking? I don't know. What's his status?
Yeah, they'll ease him in, right? It'd be pretty tough to lose your baseball season at home, disappointing fashion, and have to wake up at 5:30 in the morning to go work out on the football field with Torrey Beckton, right? They're not going to force him to do that. They'll probably give him a week or two to get completely, out. And let's remember, this is a kid that hasn't had time off in Lord knows how long because of football, because of baseball, because of being an elite athlete. So Texas wants to make sure that there's a chance for him to kind of just get his body right. Because, look, lingering groin, lingering hamstring. He's been dinged up, for most of his baseball season. He was hurt during his senior football season and missed much of the early parts of the baseball season. So they want to get him a chance to be fully healthy while not completely burnt out physically before going into the fall. And that's going to be key. How do you do that? Well, you're going to have to ask Torrey Beckton, and that's why he gets paid the big bucks. That's why Texas fought so hard to retain him this offseason. But, yeah, he's going to be on the gridiron here soon enough. It'll just be probably a couple of weeks before he joins the team and gets working.
Yeah, I mean, he was phenomenal. I mean, he probably ended the season as one of the best hitters on the team, right? Even, obviously – He'll be transitioning into football whenever he gets healthy. But I think that if he is healthy enough, I do think he's a guy that can have an impact as a freshman in some way. Not just, I think mostly I love him on special teams too as a return guy. I don't know if that's something the coaches are comfortable with him, but in that dime package, I think that's somewhere too. Maybe he could find a way on the field if he's healthy enough when they throw out the 6 DB package out there. I think he's one of those guys they could experiment with in that group as well. So Jonah Williams got a lot of potential. We saw it on the baseball diamond. I think now we're going to get a chance to see it on the football field. Thank you, Syracuse Horn. Roger here says, where does Emmett Mosley fit into the wide receiver rotation? I haven't heard anything about him being wide receiver 1, 2, or 3, or even making an impact in spring, summer workouts.
A good reason for that. Emmett Mosley just moved on to campus this past week, so he was not a part of the spring workouts over the last few months. Texas just now getting their first look in terms of what he will be able to provide for the fall this summer workouts. Of course, he's now on campus, so he'll be able to join Arch Manning, this wide receiving room, getting out there for those throwing sessions, because this is the time, Rod, you could speak on it a little bit, in which you see the DBs work with the wide receivers and the quarterbacks to make sure that, hey, we'll play some 7-on-7 or some half field and just get looks at different route concepts. Make sure that we're, technically sound going into fall camp. I was told Sunday morning there was a nice throwing session between Texas quarterback Arch Manning and new California transfer portal tight end Jack Indries, in which he joined a number of Texas wide receivers and pass catchers out on the field early for their first throwing session. So they're still getting acclimated. Emmett Mosley, by the end of the year, he's going to be in that rotation. He'll be one of the top 4 wide receivers. You add Parker Livingstone to DeAndre Moore, Ryan Wingo. There are your 4 for me right now.
Yeah.
How are they split up in terms of volume, snaps, etc.? That remains to be seen. But Emmett Mosley, too talented last year, too productive last year to be completely sidelined with this Texas roster, and how thin, I'll call it, at the wide receiver position it is.
Yeah, if anything that could keep him off the field is just that he doesn't necessarily know the playbook as well as Parker Livingstone, as well as Ryan Wingo, as well as DeAndre Moore. But guys, he's from Stanford, so it ain't gonna take him much. It ain't gonna take him long to figure it out. Yeah, he's a pretty smart kid. And I think he actually is pretty compatible with Sark's offense. He's really good in the screen game, really good with contested catches too. I think that's something this group of wide receivers with Ryan Wingo, with his size, Parker Livingstone with his size, with kind of looking at Emmett Mosley and looking at his skill set and some of his highlights. He's one of his elite traits is contested catch ability. I think that's something Ryan Wingo is going to be really good at, or has that as an elite trait in his skill set. And also, I think Parker Livingstone, with his size and his frame, he's got kind of, I call them long twitch athletes. There's quick twitch guys and kind of long twitch guys that once they get going, then, it's almost like they're running downhill. He's one of those dudes. And I feel like on some deep passes with, Arch Manning being more of a deep ball catalyst in that offense, I do believe those bigger targets, bigger frame wide receivers that we're seeing, Emmett Mosley included, are going to be able to make better plays on balls, vertical passes from 50-50 balls down the field. And I think Mosley fits that kind of to a T.
I agree.
All right, another question here. RW, random question for you, CJ. He says, has SMU overtaken TCU as a top school in DFW?
Yeah, absolutely. TCU had that national championship run. I think they found magic out of a hat a few times. You think about, they had 2 last-second walk-off field goals, one of them against Baylor, in which I don't think many expected them to make. I think it was a 55, 56-yard field goal to win that game on the road. Obviously, things aligned. They had a great team, an NFL quarterback that ended up getting selected by the Rams. They came to Austin. They put a beat down on the Longhorns. They had a lot of NFL talent that year, but duplicating that and making sure that they're able to keep bringing in that top talent has been a struggle so far. They've not hit on a lot of high school talent so far this year, or so far over the last few years. And look, when you see what SMU is, able to work with, Rod, in the NIL world, on top of now being in a Power 4 conference, I don't know what the allure over SMU is, or over TCU is for a lot of these kids, right? I would be choosing SMU if I'm in the position to choose between the two. So yeah, SMU certainly is becoming that school in Dallas. And I think the big thing is a lot of these kids who go off to a Texas, who go off to an Oklahoma or an Arkansas, and they don't love it, but they're from the Metroplex, they're being recruited to come back home, and that's to Dallas rather than Fort Worth and TCU. So despite being Big 12, but despite being ACC, SMU is kind of getting that nod from kids looking to rebound elsewhere, and that's what a lot of their roster was made up from a year ago as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. And man, DFW is the second most fertile metro area in the country in the last 6 years, right? Right behind Atlanta. So even if you're not going to be, they're not Texas and they're not Oklahoma, so they're not going to get all the big time players from that DFW area, but there's enough talent there where they should be fine. Yeah. Even just getting some of the secondary kind of tertiary stars from that DFW area, and the guys who come back after the transfer portal, which I think is also something important. Guys, when the first school they pick doesn't work out there, a lot of the guys who transfer like to come back home. And I think DFW could be one of those places. SMU, we've seen a lot of impact transfers to that SMU program. All right, let's thank our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery before we move on here toward the end of our live stream. Flat Creek Estate Winery, folks, just minutes from downtown Austin, and they've won award after award for their vintage wine, Super Texan. Super Texan now available at your local spec, so you can give it a try there. Of course, Flat Creek also a gorgeous venue with barbecues and wine tastings every single weekend, perfect for a day date with your significant other or a weekend getaway with your significant other. That's Flat Creek Estate Winery. We really appreciate them and their ongoing support of On Texas football. And if you are looking for somewhere special to take someone special, Flat Creek Estate Winery is a great place. Trust me, I've taken tours of the grounds there, so wine tours and wine tastings. They're fantastic. So appreciate our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com. Really quick, another question here before we get close to the end of our live stream here for you, CJ. Should Jalen Flores and Will Gasparino ever suit up in a Texas uniform again? Portal or Major League Baseball draft?
Yeah, it's been a pretty hot topic of conversation recently, especially with how the season ended for both of them. For Flores, look, he is eligible for the MLB draft. Gasparino is not at the moment. He's only been in school for 2 years. So he would have to come back before moving on to the pros. The question is, will there be, a spot for them right now? I think it was a pretty rough end to the year for both of them. I don't think Texas will hesitate to go find an option in the portal. If one presents itself, that is a better option at either position. So it's going to be a pretty interesting development in the portal, and for the two of them, I honestly think it would be best for Will Gasparino to find a different, maybe just a change of scenery. I think would do him a lot of benefit. Look, since May 1st, I charted it last night. He was just 7 for his last 44. He was hitting about $150 since May 1st. Only one game in which he had multiple hits in a single game. Texas played 16. So I know this was supposed to be the year where the equivalent of a 5-star football recruit in Will Gasparino coming to Texas was a big win. He regressed pretty heavily in that last half of the baseball season. 17 strikeouts in those 44 at-bats, only 7 hits. It's not going to cut it, especially when you're not able to get on base as well. So I do think a change of scenery would be best for him. Jalen Flores, look, you were pretty thin in terms of your middle infield, especially once A-Rod went down, when Ethan Mendoza was dinged up. So if Texas is able to get a Casey Cunningham to campus, things change. But until then, I don't think you can just part ways with a shortstop who's proven to be a pretty solid piece for it.
All right. Thank you for that, Andrew. I do hear somebody, Doak here says, Hooker from Ketchum, Idaho. Hey, my wife family lives in Idaho. She Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I have no idea how far that is from Ketchum, so I apologize, Doak, if it's like way on the other side of the state. A quick question from Champ says, CJ and Rod, other than Texas, who are you considering as favorites to win the Natty next year? Clemson, Penn State are two that I don't know if people are talking enough about. I think Clemson and Penn State. Penn State's getting a lot of love. Clemson is too, but I think other than Texas, those are two I look at. And of course, your usual favorites. Ohio State's in there too. But
yeah, I like Oregon. Oregon's one of my favorite rosters. You know, you got a wide receiver tandem of DeCorian Moore and Evan Stewart. Texas fans might not like hearing that, but I think that is very exciting for this year. There's defensive line, offensive line, and I think their safety room with Dylan Tieneman coming over from Purdue, they got some dudes.
Yeah, I like that. All right, let's thank our final sponsor of today's program, our friends over at South Point Dodge. We appreciate our friends over at South Point Dodge and their continued support of ON Texas football. Remember, you can get an easy extra point this season when you get to the point with our friends over at South Point Dodge. They have over 600 vehicles in stock right now, including the all-new 2025 Jeep Wrangler. Get the real deal today and drive away in the Jeep Wrangler, a vehicle built for adventure. Plus, right now, you get employee incentive pricing with our friends over at South Point Dodge. That's right. You pay what the employees pay at South Point Dodge. Score big today at South Point Dodge. You can go see them for yourself off of I-35 in South Austin, or you can check them out online at southpointdodge.com. Whether you need a truck, a car, something new, something used, maybe you have a trade-in you're looking for, South Point Dodge is Austin's automotive everything. So no matter what you're looking for, our friends at South Point Dodge, they can take care of any need that you have. So check them out today, southpointdodge.com. And remember, employee incentive pricing. That means you get the employee discount with our friends at southpointdodge.com. All right. Thank you guys for all of your questions. Thanks you for your participation. I really appreciate it. Thank you to Stevie Lee as well for joining us earlier. And thank you to Hargrove Roofing for sponsoring our segment with Stevie Lee each and every Monday. If you had any issues regarding your roof, especially with those hailstorms that hit Central Texas and Austin last week, Hargrove Roofing is the folks you should reach out to, hardgroveroofing.com. Also, thank you to our friends at South Point Dodge, southpointdodge.com, Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com. We appreciate them as well. And thank you to Von Lane, vonlane.com. Use that code OTF25 for $20 off your first ride with Von Lane. Thank you to Matthew behind the scenes. He's the real MVP. We appreciate Coach as well. And thank you, CJ, for all of your expertise. And for Coach and for CJ and for Matthew, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em horns.